Hello everybody, my name is John and this is my wife Naomi, and together we are the co-founders of Victorious Marriages Ministry. Today we wanted to just stop by and add our little 2 cents to this buzz that's been going around lately. It's actually a word, this word entanglement. And I'm sure you all have heard that word in the last few days. Take a listen.
You know, as time went on, I got into a different kind of entanglement with August.
So what we want to do today is we want to take just a few minutes to untangle our thoughts as it relates to that term entanglement, and especially as it relates to marriages. If you're not careful, you will hear things like that and you'll begin to believe, because our society bends in that way, and you'll begin to believe that it's okay to have entanglements outside of the marriage relationship. But we wanted to share with you today, well, first of all, any physical relationship, sexual relationship outside of the confines of the marriage relationship is what the Bible calls sin. And one of the things that I heard Jada Pinkett Smith say is that she didn't feel as if she had committed a transgression. Well,
you know, I definitely understand why it would look that way or feel that way, but I actually don't look at it as a transgression at all.
Well, you did indeed commit a transgression, regardless as to what you feel you accomplished along the way. Sin is sin, and I think the word entanglement is really a way to pretty up sin and adultery and fornication. It was Tony Evans who said that sex is a fire reserved for the fireplace of marriage, and when you take it out of the fireplace of marriage, sooner or later somebody is going to get burned. And as we watch the Red Table talk show, it seems as if that's exactly what happened in that relationship. What you think, babe?
I think that's exactly what happened. And so today we just want to take a second to talk a little bit about a few things to help you all and ourselves, so we're not in an entanglement or an affair, okay? So first, let's start off with just honesty about our weaknesses. We all look at different married couples and we are wowed by how well people get along, and we think that they're just perfect couples out there. Well, there are no perfect couples. We are all imperfect people. We spend all this money on our wedding day and we stand in front of our pastor as Superman and Superwoman. But let me tell you something. Superman had a weakness, and that weakness was kryptonite. And my question to you all would be, what is your kryptonite? We all have a weakness. So what is yours?
I just wanted to feel good. It had been so long since I felt good.
You cannot harm your marriage by exposing something that's going on the inside of you. To me, when you expose it, that's how it loses power, by us actually getting it out in the opening and actually sharing with our spouse, because we can't get help or become better if we don't expose it for what it is. So make sure whenever that weakness bubbles up on the inside of you, or you feel like something is a little bit off, just go ahead and communicate that, get it out so y'all can work on it. You have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would add to that. If you're in a marriage relationship and you feel that there's a problem communicating, or if you feel like you're going to be bashed, or you're going to be ostracized because you do communicate how you feel, that's an issue as well. And so in a healthy marriage relationship, you should feel free. You should feel free to be able to express the way you feel, because as we often say, feelings most of the time are neither right or wrong. They just are. They just are what we feel. And so we should be able to have, number one, honesty, but then secondly, we should have humility in our marriage relationship. And as I talk about humility, I want us to think about the importance of expressing the needs that we have in our marriage. And because everybody has needs. I got a need, you got a need, all of God's children got a need. Let me ask you a question. What are your spouse's top 3 needs? Just off the top of your head, you know, what are your spouse's top 3 needs? You know, everybody's got needs. Are their needs physical contact? Is it words of affirmation? Is it quality time? Is it gifts of appreciation? What does your spouse need? And if you can't answer that question, then you got a problem. And sometimes people end up in entanglements, or as August calls it, entangled ships, whatever the case may be. People end up in those relationships outside of their marriage a lot of times because they don't know their spouse's most important needs. And if you don't know your spouse's most important needs, then how in the world can you meet your spouse's most important needs? I would encourage everybody listening to get a piece of paper and, you know, have a conversation with your wife or with your husband and ask them, babe, what are the top 3 needs that you feel you need at this time in your life, and write those down. And then break your neck if you have to, you know, sacrifice. Marriage is about suffering, serving, and sacrifice. And it takes, here's the word, humility. It takes humility and honesty to have a strong and healthy marriage. And so that's 2 things that we need to make sure that we don't have entanglements and entangled ships. We need honesty, and we need humility. And then finally, we need transparency.
Yeah, transparency is key. I know for John and I, sometimes John, I may not feel like it, you know, going to the trail, going walking, jogging, whatever. But if John comes to me and John says, hey,
I don't feel like it either.
If John comes to me and say, hey, let's go walking, even though I don't feel like it, you know, sometimes I'm thinking, I'm like, yeah, let me go ahead. I'm going to go to the trail, because you know what I found out what happens at the trail? When John and I are walking on the trail, that gives us an opportunity to be somewhere alone. It's peace and quiet. And I have a tendency, I like to ask him a question when we're out on the trail. And I always say, hey, I said, how are you doing? And I said, I'm not talking about just how was your day, the little basics of what's going on. No, I'm asking him because I want to know what's going on the inside of him. So I asked the question, how are you doing? To give him an opportunity to be able to be transparent with me and let me know what's going on with him, and not just passing through, coming home from work and just saying, oh, hey, how was your day? And we give quick little answers. Like, no, you genuinely should be concerned about what's going on the inside of your spouse, because if you don't know what's going on the inside of your spouse, you know, it could be a bunch of things that can happen that can harm our home, and we're not even aware of it or not in tune because we're simply not talking. So we have to have that open communication and create an environment where we feel free to be able to say those things that will help our marriage and grow us to become better.
That's true.
You?
Yeah, so I would only add to that, when we think about transparency in marriage, we also think about the fact that we should have nothing hidden.
That's it.
We should have nothing hidden in our marriage. And so think about this for a minute. I know our thoughts and our feelings, we feel that they are personal, and a lot of times they are. But how awesome is it to be able to express the way you feel and to express your deepest thoughts and emotions to the person that God has placed you next to do life with. One of the things that we strive to practice in our marriage is transparency as it relates to sharing our deepest feelings, our thoughts, even if our thoughts and feelings may not be pretty.
Yeah, and when I think about transparency, one of the main things that hit me first is when I think about things like with our cell phones and social media, you know, those areas, it just always seems like people are like, that's my personal space. I don't want nobody touching my personal space. And it's like, I am sorry. When you are married, you don't have no personal space. You don't have no...
The two become one flesh.
That's right. No secret passcodes. Like, if I'm text messaging somebody on my phone, it's nothing that I'm texting a person that my husband shouldn't be able to see. If somebody in my inbox, I'm grabbing my phone, flipping it like, oh, look what such and such just sent to me. I even remember a time I had a gentleman that I knew sending me good mornings, and I looked at my husband, I was like, hold on, this dude's telling me good morning.
And I told him good night.
Every single morning, and he sure did. He checked that real quick. But
yes, indeed.
You do not leave anything sitting out there to tempt you. that will easily push you into sin, you don't leave that door open. Like, we close those doors. And if we feel like at any moment that we feel like we need to hide something, or only want to reach out to somebody when we in our vehicles or away from our spouse, that's a problem. That means something is already going on the inside of our heart that needs to be fixed and needs to be exposed. And just to let you know, whether or not you feel the need to expose it yourself, that does not mean you still won't get exposed. God has a way.
He does.
And I would say that God has a way of exposing those deep, dark areas of our heart, not to hurt us, but to help us.
Yeah. One of the illustrations that I love to give when it comes to transparency in marriage is Adam and Eve. Mm-hmm. You know, in the very beginning, God He created his man, took a rib from the man, he formed a woman, brought the woman to the man, and Adam looked at her and said, "Woe, man, you know, this shall be called woe, man, woman, because she was taken out of man." I'm sorry, y'all, that's the preacher in me, the cheesy preacher in me. But, you know, one of the beautiful things about Adam and Eve's relationship is the Bible says that in the garden there in paradise, they were naked and not ashamed. And what that means at the very surface level is that there was nothing that brought shame or embarrassment, nothing, there was nothing that they needed to hide. Right. Our marriages are closer to paradise when there's nothing hidden, emotionally, no feelings hidden, no actions and thoughts. Especially if those things can bring harm to the marriage. The best thing we can do, if we're trying to protect our marriage from entanglements, is to be open and honest about what we're feeling on the inside.
It's just part of it.
Yeah. Okay. So honesty, humility, and transparency. Anything else, love?
That's all I got for tonight.
All right. So this was just kind of off the cuff, you all, but we pray that it's been a blessing to you, and it's our goal to do this a little bit more often. So if you've enjoyed this video today, would you like it? Share it with somebody else that you think might benefit from it. And most of all, if you're not connected to us on Facebook, follow us on Facebook at Victorious Marriages, and we'll see you there. God bless.
God bless you.